Hello everyone, Justin with Deep Dive Stocks here, and today we're going to be doing a weekly review where we look at what our expectations for the week ahead were from the week of April 10th to April 14th, 2023. And we're going to look at what our expectations were for that week, and then we're going to look at how the data progressed throughout the week and try to identify the data points that helped us navigate these pretty turbulent markets reasonably successfully throughout the week. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So, a little bit of backstory. Every week, Deep Dive Stocks sends out to its members the weekly review. And the point of the weekly review, besides just me ranting and raving about the market, is to set the playing field or to set the expectations for the week ahead. And so this week, we're going to be looking at the weekly review that was sent out for April 10th to the 14th of 2023. In this weekly review, let's quickly look at what the overall expectations for the week was. The main idea was that the overall expectation was bullish. This was evidenced based off of VoEx, GTM, and the dealer long put data prints. However, there were some bearish data prints that would need to be monitored throughout the week to ensure that the bullish outlook didn't become too disrupted. So for the weekly review this week, let's briefly look at the bullish data, the bearish data, and then we will see how those data changed and progressed throughout the week. The first bullish data print was VoEx. VoEx on SPY has been reminiscent of bull runs. That is, it has been rapidly moving into the inhibition zone during a price appreciation and has started spiking into the inhibition zone. For those that may not be too familiar with VoEx, VoEx spiking into the inhibition zone is a bullish finding. And the benefit of VoEx is that we can maintain this bullish outlook until VoEx starts doing bearish data prints, such as VoEx spikes or VoEx falling back into the propagation zone. So on SPY, since we didn't see any of those behaviors, but rather still just see VoEx moving into the inhibition zone during price appreciation, this is a bullish data print. It basically is reminiscent of all of the prior bull runs that we've experienced throughout the year. This outlook was also mirrored in QQQ. And in fact, QQQ's VoEx had already moved into the inhibition zone, indicating the bullish run well before SPY's VoEx did. So in terms of QQQ's data print, we really just needed to look to see if there was any VoEx spikes or VoEx moving into the propagation zone, in which case we would need to pivot from a bullish or bull run outlook to a bearish outlook. And a brief review of QQQ's VoEx from the 6th of April shows that this was indeed not the case. VoEx was still just residing in the inhibition zone without spiking or falling deeply into the propagation zone. So here we see that VoEx for SPY and QQQ were demonstrating that the bull run that really QQQ indicated well before SPY did is still underway. One of the interesting thoughts that we pointed out though in the weekly chat was that maybe because QQQ started its bullish data prints prior to SPY, it would also start its bearish data prints prior to SPY when this current bull run would end. And so that is something that we were going to keep an eye out for as the week progressed. The second bullish data print was the market-wide gamma squeeze counts and the gamma trending metric. The gamma trending metric is a tool designed to measure the flow of gamma throughout the market to give us a heads up if the number of gamma squeezes is going to increase or decrease throughout the entire market. The goal with that is that when gamma squeezes increase or when they start growing more than they're decaying, the market tends to experience a downside. Versus when the number of gamma squeezes is decaying faster than they are growing, the market tends to experience upside. In other words, when GTM prints positive values, it means the future will typically have more gamma squeezes and as such will typically be lower in price than we currently are. And when GTM prints negative values, it means that the number of gamma squeezes in the future is set to decrease, which means that the market should increase. So on April 6th, when we saw that we had a declining market-wide gamma squeeze count and GTM was printing some pretty severe negative values, this is a pretty strong bullish outlook. It tells us that not only are the current number of gamma squeezes decreasing as evidenced by the gamma squeeze count itself, but that the expected number of gamma squeezes in the future is lower still. Since there is an expectation for a lowered number of gamma squeezes in the market, this is a bullish data print. And lastly, the third bullish data print was the dealer long puts. The dealer long put metric is simply a measurement of the number of dealer long puts that are being opened, namely on SPY and QQQ. Now, dealer long puts have a curious relationship with price action, but suffice to say that the data suggests that there are some pretty well-timed players in the market that know exactly when to sell puts. In other words, retail selling puts makes dealer long puts, and the profitability of those dealer long puts for the retail trader is if the price increases or volatility decreases. Then those puts can either decay and the seller of those puts can collect the full premium, or they can exit for a lower price than what they sold the puts for, thus realizing a profit. The benefit of monitoring dealer long puts is that when the growth of dealer long puts is positive, we tend to see bullish performance in the market. And this is exactly what we saw on QQQ and SPY on April 6th. So the three bullish data prints were VoEx, indicating that the bullish run wasn't over, and the market-wide gamma squeeze count and GTM, with GTM indicating that the anticipated number of gamma squeezes in the future would be lower, which is a bullish data print, and the dealer long puts, which showed us that the growth of dealer long puts were still positive, which is associated with future market appreciation. So what about the bearish data prints, and what did we need to keep an eye out for throughout the week? Let's take a look. The main hesitation towards a full, unbridled bullish outlook was the hedging environments. And these hedging environments for both SPY and QQQ were particularly unsupportive in the event of any spot down IV up movement. We can see that here. Both heat maps show that if the price fell and volatility rose, the indices would start experiencing some pretty significant selling pressure, and this always has the potential to instigate continued further downside and in a runaway selling effect. And so since both hedging heat maps were unsupportive in a spot down volatility up situation, it was going to be particularly important to monitor the hedging environment throughout the week to ensure that this instability from the hedging environment didn't increase. Ideally, we would like to see throughout the week that this hedging environment improved. In other words, we would like to see some purchasing support come underneath the crosshairs and start providing purchasing support should the price fall. So since we've seen both the bullish and the bearish data prints, let's go ahead and look to see how the data progressed throughout the week. On Monday, SPY and QQQ barely moved and the data remained largely the same. There was some tentative evidence that the hedging environments for QQQ and SPY were clearing up, and we can see that here where, although there isn't purchasing support located spot down, volatility up, we definitely see that the amount of selling pressure located in that area is decreased. This isn't exactly a supportive hedging heat map, but I think it's safe to say it is reasonably better than what we started the week out with. Tuesday progressed much the same. Very little movement throughout the indices, and the data prints remained largely unchanged. On Wednesday, however, things definitely started looking a little bit more supportive for the indices. Up until now, the week has been mostly flat, with QQQ actually falling slightly. But on Wednesday, we saw that although it was a red day for both SPY and QQQ, the hedging environment came and saved the day for us with the emergence of quite substantial purchasing support located spot down, volatility up. This, of course, is exactly one of the things that we were looking for in order to maintain a bullish outlook for the week ahead, and Wednesday seems to have given that to us. And so, on Thursday, it wasn't too surprising that SPY moved over 1% and QQQ moved nearly 2%. And with these large moves, the data was still printing bullish performance. SPY's VoEx spiked into the inhibition zone, QQQ's VoEx spiked into the inhibition zone, GTM dropped significantly, indicating a continued expectation for the decrease in the number of gamma squeezes. And so, by now, the market seemed pretty prepped to continue the week unfazed. In other words, a slight green week. And so that's how the data progressed throughout the week, and ultimately on Friday, SPY and QQQ ended with a net green movement, although sub 1%, nothing too crazy. But it was very interesting to see how the environment changed and how the data was able to point us in the right direction for the week ahead. So the question becomes, when does this bull run end? When do the hedging environments become unstable again, because they're bound to? How does OPEX affect the week ahead as well? And what does GTM say about the future of the market? All of those items will be discussed in this week's weekly chat. So if these type of data are interesting to you, I definitely recommend checking it out. So that's all I have for you guys today. I appreciate you stopping by. Yeah, I'm Justin, and if you guys have any questions or anything you want me to discuss, please don't hesitate to reach out, and I'll talk to you guys later.